Vanessa thought she had it all. The penthouse view. The designer heels. The kind of life people envied on social media. Every photo she posted screamed success. Champagne in hand, passport stamped, and not a single hair out of place. But what happens when the very foundation of your world, money, power, perfection, vanishes overnight? What happens when the people who cheered for you in your glory days disappear the moment you're no longer shining? This isn't just a story about losing wealth. It's about losing everything you thought defined you, and finding something far greater in return. So if you've ever felt like your worth depended on your bank account, or you've judged someone without knowing their battle, don't scroll away. Because Vanessa's journey may just change how you see success and yourself. Keep watching. This story will stay with you long after the screen goes dark. Vanessa Hartley was the kind of woman people watched when she walked into a room. At just 32, she was already a name in elite social circles, gracing the covers of business magazines as one of the youngest women to lead a luxury events company in Manhattan. Her clients, celebrities, Fortune 500 CEOs, even royals. Her Instagram, a carefully curated highlight reel of private jets, five-star resorts, and red carpet soirees. Her mornings started with imported green juices and private yoga sessions on her terrace overlooking Central Park. Her nights ended with silk sheets and the sound of notifications. More brands begging her to partner, more invitations she couldn't keep up with. She lived for it. The admiration, the attention, the power that came from walking into a boutique and buying whatever she wanted. No price tags, no second thoughts. Vanessa believed she was self-made. She loved telling the story of how she built everything from the ground up. And in a way, she had. She hustled through college, started as a wedding planner, and networked her way into bigger circles until she was commanding 7 figures a year. But what she never said out loud, even to herself, was that her empire sat on shaky ground. Every decision was a gamble. Every luxury came with a loan. Her team whispered about overdue invoices. But Vanessa silenced every doubt with another pair of Louboutins or a new partnership deal. As long as the money kept coming, she didn't care where it came from or how thin the ice was beneath her. She believed money fixed everything. And if you had enough of it, you didn't need anyone. Not real friends. Not love. Not truth. But all of that was about to change. It started with a missed payment. Just one invoice. A $45,000 balance from a luxury wedding she organized in Italy. The client claimed their bank flagged it for review, but Vanessa's got twisted. Still, she brushed it off. She had other accounts receivable coming in. She always did. But then came the second missed payment. Then a third. And suddenly, a high-profile client canceled, citing rumors that Vanessa's business was in trouble. Where had they heard that? The truth. Word spreads fast in high society. Vendors who once worked with her loyally began demanding deposits up front. The bank called twice. Her Amex was declined during a lunch meeting with a potential investor. Vanessa had never felt embarrassed like that in her life. Her assistant, tired of late paychecks, quit without notice. That same day, her personal driver didn't show up. Her Mercedes, leased, not owned, was taken back by the dealership. Vanessa stared at the parking spot where it had been. Empty. She started selling things, quietly. A diamond necklace here, a designer handbag there. She told herself it was temporary. A dry spell. A dip in the wave. I'll bounce back, she said aloud, convincing no one but herself. Her penthouse, once her symbol of success, became a prison. She barely slept. Emails piled up. Phone calls went unanswered. Her brand deals fell through one by one, like dominoes. And when her landlord sent an eviction notice, Vanessa finally cracked. She sat on the floor of her luxury apartment, surrounded by things she could no longer afford, and cried. Not the quiet, graceful tears she was used to showing in movies and ads. These were ugly sobs. The kind that came from a place far beneath the surface. For the first time in her adult life, Vanessa had to ask herself a question she had never dared ask before. What am I without money? Vanessa downsized, but it wasn't graceful. She didn't go from a penthouse to a quaint little townhouse in a chic neighborhood. No, she went from a glass-walled skyline apartment to a studio above a noisy pizzeria, where the air always smelled of garlic and regret. She had no furniture of her own. She slept on a borrowed air mattress and stacked her remaining clothes in cardboard boxes. The neighbors were loud. The walls were thin. And Vanessa, once draped in silk and sipping champagne, now wore secondhand sweaters and made instant noodles over a single burner stove. Her inbox was silent. Her phone, once a source of non-stop pings from assistants, stylists, clients, and fans, had gone eerily quiet. No one checked in. No one offered help. The same society that had once cheered her on with clinking glasses now pretended she didn't exist. She had become invisible. Vanessa applied for jobs. Actual jobs. She sent resumes to event firms, wedding coordinators, even floral shops. But her name, once her golden ticket, had now become a cautionary tale. Didn't she go bankrupt? She used to be famous. She lost everything. Her pride burned. Her stomach often ached from hunger. There were nights she cried into her hands, whispering apologies to herself for every arrogant thing she'd ever said to someone struggling. Then came the cold. Her heater broke 1 week in early December. She wrapped herself in 3 layers of sweaters and a blanket she found in a charity bin. She thought about her parents, the ones she'd once told to dream bigger, while scoffing at their modest lives. She hadn't spoken to them in 3 years. She reached for her phone and stared at their number. Her thumb hovered, but pride stopped her again. That night, as she huddled on the air mattress, a thought echoed through her mind louder than ever before. I'm alone. It happened on a Tuesday morning. Gray sky, slushy sidewalks, and the kind of cold that made you wrap your arms tighter around yourself. Vanessa was walking to a part-time job at a small boutique. It paid barely enough to cover her rent, but it was something. She passed a woman sitting on the curb, bundled in 3 coats and holding a cardboard sign that simply read, "Need food." Vanessa had $20 in her wallet. That was all she had left until payday. Normally, she would have looked away. But something about the woman's eyes stopped her. They were tired, not just from lack of sleep, but from being unseen. Vanessa paused. Then, slowly, she pulled out a $10 bill and handed it over. The woman blinked, as if unsure whether to trust it. "Thank you," she whispered, voice hoarse. "People usually don't stop." Vanessa smiled, her throat tightening. "I know what it's like to be ignored." She walked the rest of the way to work, but something in her had shifted. That night, she couldn't sleep. The woman's face haunted her, not because of pity, but because of the reflection. She saw herself. And then it hit her. She had spent her life building things that only glittered on the outside. Events, brands, appearances. But none of it had ever meant anything. The moment she lost the money, the world stopped listening. She picked up an old journal she hadn't touched in years. Inside were notes she'd written as a teenager. Ideas, dreams, messages she had once believed in before the fame swept her up. One line stood out, "Maybe my story can help someone feel less alone." That night, Vanessa began writing again. Not press releases. Not captions to sell. She wrote her story. Raw. Honest. Messy. She didn't know what it would lead to, but she knew she had to do it. Not for clicks, but for healing. Vanessa started small. She created a blog using a free platform. No designer templates. No PR team. No scheduled posts. Just her and her truth. Her first post was titled, "I thought money would save me. It didn't." She was terrified to hit publish. This was the first time she wasn't trying to impress anyone. There were no luxury tags, no filters, no carefully curated quotes. Just vulnerability. She went to bed that night thinking no one would read it. But when she woke up the next morning, there were 42 comments. Most of them from strangers, women, single moms, college students, retirees, saying things like, "I thought I was the only one. This made me cry. I've never related to someone this much." Vanessa's heart swelled. For the first time, her words had actually touched lives. So she kept writing. Every day after her shift at the boutique, she would come home, heat up noodles, and pour her story onto the screen. the rise, the fall, the loneliness, the regret, the lessons. Over time, her blog grew into a small community. People weren't just reading, they were writing back, sharing their own stories, offering encouragement, building each other up. Then something unexpected happened. A local nonprofit that focused on women's financial literacy reached out. They had read her blog and wanted her to speak at a workshop. Vanessa almost declined. She wasn't a speaker. She wasn't even sure she was qualified anymore. But something in her said, "Say yes." The day she stood in front of that room full of women, hands shaking, voice cracking, she didn't feel like a failure anymore. She felt human and real. She told them about the private jets, the penthouse, the crash, and the quiet of being broke. She told them what no one had told her, that money can buy silence, but not peace. That losing everything made her finally hear her own voice. After that, speaking engagements started coming in. Podcasts, panels, collaborations. She didn't chase them. They found her. Because people weren't just drawn to her past, they were drawn to her honesty. Vanessa eventually launched an online course called More Than Enough. Not about how to become rich, but about how to rebuild your identity when you lose what defined you. She built a slow, steady income from coaching, digital products, and brand partnerships that actually aligned with her new values. It wasn't 6 figures overnight, but every dollar she earned felt earned. And more importantly, it felt good. Because this time, the money came from meaning. And that made all the difference. It had been 3 years since Vanessa lost everything. 3 years since she watched her world collapse in a storm of debt, ego, and silence. Now she stood in a sunlit community center in Atlanta, watching a group of young women. Some single mothers, some fresh out of college, some in recovery, laugh and cry as they shared their stories. They were graduates of her More Than Enough mentorship circle. And they were stronger than they knew. One woman walked up to her afterward, her eyes brimming with tears. She said, "I used to envy your lifestyle, Vanessa. I followed you back when you had the yacht, the designer shoes, the whole thing. But now I envy your peace." That hit different. It wasn't her old followers or fame that made her proud. It was moments like this. She no longer needed validation from strangers scrolling on a screen. She found her worth in real conversations, in healing, in helping others grow from the same brokenness she once hid behind. Later that evening, Vanessa got a call from an old friend from the finance world. A big firm wanted her to come speak about ethical entrepreneurship and the cost of chasing status. She paused. That was the same company that once turned her down because she didn't look the part. Now they wanted her for who she was, not what she wore. She accepted. And when she walked into that boardroom months later, she didn't wear Gucci. She wore confidence, peace, and purpose. Vanessa had learned that you can't spend your way into happiness. You can't buy healing. You can't fake peace. And when you lose everything you thought made you valuable, that's when you discover what really does. Vanessa sat on her porch one evening, legs tucked beneath her, sipping tea from a chipped mug that once belonged to her grandmother. The sun was setting, golden, calm, unbothered by the chaos of the world. For the first time in her life, she wasn't trying to outrun the moment. She had spent so many years thinking money was everything. That if she just had a little more, she'd feel enough. That if she looked like success on the outside, maybe she wouldn't feel so empty on the inside. But money can't hold your hand when your soul is tired. It can't apologize for the years you lost trying to prove something. And it definitely can't rebuild the pieces of you that only truth, humility, and love can restore. Vanessa's story wasn't about losing money. It was about finding herself. She still worked hard, still built smart, but not from ego anymore. From purpose. She helped others now. Taught them what she learned. Mentored girls who thought their worth was in their waistlines or wallets. She told them the truth. You are not your salary. You are not your shoes. You are not your followers. You are not your failures. You are your strength, your softness, your honesty, and your story. And now, to you watching this, I'll ask, what are you chasing? And is it really what you need? If Vanessa's story moved you, If you've ever thought money would fix the emptiness, then maybe it's time to rewrite your own definition of success. Because sometimes losing everything is exactly what it takes to find what truly matters. If this story touched your heart, please like this video, subscribe for more soul-twisting stories, and share it with someone who might need it today.